All aboard! Had to do that, right? Good morning, and I'm just delighted to be returning here this morning to the Interfaith Center. My name is Claire Groshans, and you might remember that I am a writer, an English major, a genealogist, currently a genealogist. I'm a nature lover, and now you're also going to find out I'm a serious train lover. So the topic of trains was kind of an odd choice, right? I mean, really? Who would have thought that at Interfaith this morning we would be pretending to be on a train ride? But I'd like to suggest that trains might be an important way to teach us lessons about life. I mean, after all, it is, and also not just trains. It is the train station, the train tracks, and most importantly, the people that we come across as we journey. So yes, trains teach important lessons. I mean, after all, think about all the Thomas the Tank Engine shows that are currently airing and all those valuable life lessons that are being taught to young children. Then remember yourself as a child. Do you remember the story, The Little Engine Who Could? Yeah, that story was by Waddy Piper. It was later switched up a little bit by Disney, but in that story, which was written in 1930, which is to teach children about optimism, this little engine is facing this most daunting task. He has to keep repeating a mantra. I think you all know what it is. I think I can, I think I can, right? And because he believes, he actually does. So I have to make it clear, disclaimer, I am not an expert on trains. I am simply a person who's been fortunate enough to have done quite a lot of train travel over the course of my long life. I love train travel. It started on my 5th birthday. My parents gifted me with a train ride all the way to Kalamazoo. And since then, I've done a sleeping car to Grand Central. I've ridden the rail to Toronto. The Wolverine line, which goes, Ann Arbor to Chicago, I've done that countless times. European trains, and most recently my big train trip was on the Cascades trains, which run along the Columbia River Gorge from Seattle to Portland. The thing I like about train travel is you just sit down, you're enjoying the view out the window, and unlike just driving down the expressway, here you're going to see countrysides, riverbanks, factories, homes, animals busy grazing in the fields, crops are growing, people are waving at you, people are waiting for you at the train crossings, and it all kind of just flies by. But before we board our trains, we're at the train stations. And when you're at a train station, what you'll see is people are hugging. They're saying goodbye to family and friends. And just as some are saying goodbye, others are standing there waiting to greet their loved one. So at train stations, you'll have a lot of hugs, tears, and joys. And people meet each other at train stations. We say hello. We chat about where we're going, our upcoming travels. Speaking of chatting, you just hear a lot of that at train stations, maybe why I like them. One of the most valuable lessons I learned about trains was from my mother. Way back then, she would drive us down by the Barton Bridge, and we would wait every morning for the train to come by. And as it did, we were outside the car, my sisters, I, my mother, with unbounded joy, we would wave at the train and get that special wave back from the conductor. By the way, he still does that on the Wolverine line here. It was interesting when I think about that waving, how during 2020, that memory would come back to me every Wednesday afternoon when I was in a Zoom meeting with the Interfaith group here, a social gathering that's on Wednesday afternoons. And at the end of those meetings, we did that bye, the little wave at the end. What a beautiful thing, beautiful gift. And I know that inside the train, people are waving back at you. It's not really visible from outside, But I can tell you from having been on the rails so often, there are passengers in there smiling at you with their hands up. But how does any of that work into this talk this morning at Interfaith? Nice intro, right? But what does it really all mean? So, remember way back in the early 2000s, we used to get these great inspirational emails or videos from our friends. You know, they'd come as big group messages before Facebook got to be all that. There was one of those emails way back, like 20 or more years ago, that was called "Life is Like a Train." And that message flipped me. I mean, it just changed my thinking about a lot of things. So I'm going to, I looked for it on Google and found something that I think is it. It is anonymous. There's no author. Life is like a train ride. We get on, we ride, we get off, we get back on, we ride some more. There are accidents, there are delays, and at certain stops, there are surprises. Some of those will translate into moments of great joy. Some will bring profound sorrow. When we're born and we first board the train, we meet the people who we think will be with us for our entire journey. Those people are our parents. But that's not always the truth, that they can be with us the whole journey. They too have different journeys they have to complete. So we live with the memories of their love, affection, friendship, guidance, and their ever-presence. There are others who board the train, and they eventually become especially important to us. And those are our brothers, our sisters, our friends, our acquaintances, all those people that we learn to love and to cherish. Some people consider their train ride just a jaunty little tour, and others will encounter many upsets, tears, losses on their journey, and others still will linger to offer a helping hand to anyone in need. Some people on the train are going to leave you an everlasting impression when they get off. Some will get on the train, often on the train so quickly, they'll scarcely leave a sign that they even crossed your path. We will sometimes be upset that some passengers who we love will choose to sit in another compartment and will leave us because they want to travel on their own. Then again, there's nothing to say that we can't seek them out anyhow, but nevertheless, if we do seek them out, we may not be able to sit next to them, and in fact, that seat might already be taken. But that's okay, because everyone's journey is going to be filled with hopes and dreams and challenges and setbacks and goodbyes. And we strive to make the best of it no matter what. We must constantly strive to understand our travel companions and to look for the best in everyone. Remember also, any moment on your journey, any one of our travel companions can have a weak moment. They might need your help. We too might vacillate. We might even trip. Hopefully, we can count on someone being there to be supportive and understanding. Bigger mystery of the journey is we don't know when our last stop will come, nor do we know when our travel companions will make their last stop. But I hope one day we all meet at the main station, carrying baggage. Most of that baggage we didn't have when we first got on the train. People have enriched our lives, just as much we hope that we've enriched theirs. So we're all on this train ride together. And above all, we need to strive to make the ride as pleasant and memorable as we can, right up until the final stop. All aboard, safe travels. Oh, traveling by train isn't done so much these days. The memories of traveling by train do bring a lot of nostalgia. For those of you that have traveled the rails, you probably have very clear memories of those times. It's a real time for wanderlust and adventure. When you sit on the train, you just see the world flying by and you study it. Here's a very short story that I wrote. I wrote as I was on the Wolverine line going to meet my grandson for the first time because he was just born. And it goes like this. I wiggled around in my seat and I got ready for the train ride that would take me on a visit to meet my grandchild. I certainly did not need a mirror to know I was smiling. I was just filled with an abundance of joy and all kinds of anticipation. And as the train departed the Ann Arbor station, I busied myself and grabbed my phone camera so I could document the trip and all the different views I would see out the window, and life was good. Racing past meadows, main streets, wooded acres, past homes, even through factory yards. And I just kept so busy. I was getting all these photos. They were so good, I thought, until I reviewed them. Drat, I thought to myself when I looked at the series of photos. They're all blurred by the speed of the train. It's just a smear, I disparaged. Then I thought, yeah, my own life is going that quickly. My memories are like those streaked photos. Train in motion, my life in motion too. But then the lull of the tracks started to make a sound that wasn't clickety-clack. To me, it was, I'm a grandmother, I'm a grandmother. And I kept repeating that to myself in perfect rhythm to the wheels. I tried to think where all that time had gone since I was holding my babies. Where? It was kind of like those streaked photographs. The gentleman across the aisle took me away from my thoughts when he started to address me. Good day. Are you on a vacation? He asked. Oh, something better, I replied. I'm going to go meet my grandchild. I'm really happy. I could tell you look pretty excited, he said, and right then I already knew by his smile I liked him. My name's Dave, and he stood up and formally shook my hand. My name's Claire. I shook his hand. I looked at his kind eyes. In the next hour, he showed me a really interesting app. It was a train app. It showed you where you were on the tracks, what speed you were going, when another train would come by you. But eventually our conversation got personal. Remember, I wrote this story a while ago. I'm 59 years old. I'm happy, I told him. I guess I'm a grandmother, so I guess I'm an old woman now. Dave said, well, I'm 79. I'm so old, you can ask me anything. I'm going to know the answer. In life, you don't always have a quick retort, but I said, okay, Dave, so I can ask you anything, but how much do you remember about everything? And then he did a big belly laugh, and it startled the other passengers, and it startled me, but I started laughing too. But then it got more serious, given this opportunity, this once in a lifetime maybe. I said, okay, if you can answer anything, then how about this one? What is the meaning of life? And I said that. Oh, I am so honored to be able to tell you the entire meaning of life. Remember, this is a true story. I am so honored to tell you that the entire meaning of life is to love. Now, I suggest that you love as many people as you can. And I suggest you spend time with your grandchild, and I suggest you spend time with friends, meeting new people, family. Just keep falling in love. Keep falling in love with life. Just love, he concluded. I was so filled with emotions. I understood. I met a stranger on a train, and I understood what my life is about now. It was not my job, not my house, not my appearance, not my weight, not my intellect or my humor. None of those is what we refer to usually as who a person is. It was obvious. Just love. I loved. I love others. Love. As I smiled and I smiled. And then, just like that, Dave stood up and he told me that we'd reached Battle Creek and that was his stop. He wished me a pleasant visit, and then he was gone. It's like that with people that we cherish and love. We don't know how long we'll be together on this train. Love. Keep falling in love. We have different journeys, but we share moments. I learned a lesson on that train, and that's what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to tell you, go ahead, I got old enough. Ask me anything. And before I conclude my talk this morning, just a few quick little notes I have here. One is, I do want to say also that I am a genealogist. I'm a very serious genealogist, and so of course I study some history. And trains are very much part of the history of America. You know, we hear that from the California coast to the Georgia pines. There's a lot about building the rails and about the rails that was far, less than glamorous. But today I'm just talking about the glamour part of train travel. And also, I just want to bring up the joy of the music this morning. Thank you so much. My foot is still tapping. It just delighted me. But also how many songs in our culture that you can think of that revolve around train travel. I was thinking way back to Chattanooga Choo Choo, right, with Glenn Miller. And then one that I like a lot is Runaway Train, which is Soul Asylum. And the one I really like the best is, I don't know the name of a song, but there's an entertainer named Doc Watson who plays harmonica. And he can play harmonica that makes that lonesome longing, to be on a train, just wonderful. And then one of my favorites, I had to finish with some of these quotes here. This song, Peace Train by Cat Stevens. And now I've been happy lately, thinking about the good things to come. I should have asked you to sing it. And I believe it could be. Something good has begun. Oh, I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world as one. And I believe it could be. Someday it's going to come. 4 quotes, and then I'm going to be open to chatting with you. Love quotes, I collect them. So, of course, I have some train quotes. This one by Corrie ten Boom. When a train goes through the tunnel and it gets real dark, you don't throw away your ticket and jump off the train. You sit still. You trust the engineer. This quote by Marianne Williamson. If a train doesn't stop at your station, it's not your train. And Paul Simon, there's something about the sound of a train that's very romantic, nostalgic, and hopeful. And finally, by De Jong, the restlessness and the longing, like the longing that's in the whistle of the faraway train, except the longing isn't in the whistle, it's in you. And I believe it's a longing to love. I hope you enjoyed your trip. Thank you. And so it is.